I get it. I remember looking in the mirror too and thinking, who the heck are you? I've had to learn to love this new version of myself, and it hasn't been easy, but I'm going to be talking about things that I wish somebody would have told me, and that is, you and your body are not going to look or feel the same when your sport's over. It's just not going to happen, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what we can do is learn to love and respect it in a new way by doing these practical things. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Now What podcast. I am your host, Sierra Stout, and today, we're going to talk about something that's a little heavy and a little hard, so just a small disclaimer: if you feel triggered by things with body image or food, etc., just know that we're going to be unpacking some of that today, and you're definitely not alone in this, but I just wanted to leave a little disclaimer before we dive in. But let's talk about the changes that nobody really talks about after sports, when our body begins to look and feel different. I remembered the shift when everything ended for me, and after a couple months went by, I noticed that my body started to look and feel differently. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it was just different. It was different than anything I'd ever known. It was a different version of my body and myself, and I'm not gonna lie, it hit me pretty deeply. I wasn't one to struggle with body image or any of that during college, thankfully. And it's been a journey of just understanding that this is a new season, and just like I am adapting mentally, my body is adapting physically. And there's a real reality of slowing down. When we stop training daily, our metabolism slows down. And what that essentially means is that our metabolic rate is higher when we're more active. And then when we are in a new lifestyle where we're probably in an office job or whatever work looks like for you, we're a bit more stationary than what we're used to. And so that metabolic rate will drop. And that really just means that we're burning less calories than we used to when we're just existing. So in summary, when that metabolic rate is down and our metabolism slows down, that impacts our muscle mass and our energy, and then we have less to give. And so no wonder my body felt off. My metabolism was slowing down, and it's not something that you can't counteract, but I'm certainly not working out and expending as much energy as I used to when my sport really was my job. And now that I have a job that is outside of athletics, I've noticed some changes. But it's been interesting to think about the fact that when I was training, and maybe when you were training, we were craving a lot more food. Our body needed more nutrients to fire, to go at the highest capacity, because we pushed it day in and day out. And so we had to intake a lot to be able to output a lot, right? And so in this season of shifting, I noticed that my food habits were still the same. I was still consuming large amounts of food, not in an unhealthy way, but just whatever allowed me to go at my highest capacity when I was training during college. And now I don't need that much because I'm not expending as much energy. And that was a shift for me, just taking a step back and realizing, I guess I don't really need this amount. It was more out of habit rather than my body actually needed it. And so I had to start listening to my body and what it needed in this new season. But that's hard. And I know this next thing that I'm going to talk about, men, I know this is applicable to you too. And if it is, I would actually love for you to send me a DM over on our Instagram page. You can find that in the description below, or comment. I'm very curious, but I can obviously only speak for a woman right now. But this shift actually impacts our hormones a ton. Our cortisol levels go up, our insulin levels are messed up, and our hunger cues are just off. And so all of this becomes impacted when we stop playing. Our body is adjusting to this new season. So that's why I wanted to unpack some of this today, because I wish that somebody would have told me that this was coming. It honestly has broke my heart a little bit watching my body change, but I thankfully have the right people around me who are supporting me. And that's what I want this podcast to be for you as well, because I know that I'm not the only one walking through this as we're trying to attain what once was, when in reality, we can't. We have to love a new version of ourselves and learn how to take care of who we are, where we're at. So there is a real mental battle of body image when our sport comes to an end. And if you haven't heard that before, well, Unfortunately, I'm the first one to tell you, but I'm glad I'm telling you because, again, I wish somebody would have prepped me for this season because there's a real grief to not only losing your sport, but losing that version of your body, that athletic version of yourself that was operating at full capacity as you were training and putting it through so much pressure and stress for so long. You were giving it all it had. Our body is genuinely a machine, and you were taking care of it to the highest level possible. And so when we lose that season, our body is naturally not going to look or feel the same. But there has to be a grieving season of this. And so I just want to encourage you that grief is necessary. Secondly, there is an entire identity piece to this of, man, I used to be the fit one. I used to be the strongest one. And now I'm not. I'm just average. I'm just this. Well, okay, let's just hold on a moment because I'm going to be the first to tell you that I've been comparing myself to my old body, my athletic body, if you want to call it. And it was eating me alive. It was disrupting my sleep. It was disrupting my eating habits. It was disrupting my joy, the way I interacted with people, my confidence, all of these things. And so the worst thing that we can do in this season is to constantly compare and beat ourselves up for the fact that we don't look or feel the same way. And so, yes, this is a mental battle. It's going to be difficult, but I'm hoping that by just talking and breathing light to something like this, that it will actually help us move forward in a different way. I know personally, I've struggled with shame and comparison and that internal pressure to almost bounce back. Like I've been overworking myself to try to get back to that version of myself that I knew I was. And that is really unhealthy. I thought that I was doing something good by trying to get back to where I was because I didn't like what I saw on the scale or what I saw in the mirror. But man, where's the grace in this? We have to take a moment to step back and give ourselves grace and acknowledge that we are a new version of ourselves in this season, and there's nothing wrong with that. We can still train and we can still go hard in areas, but we also have to learn to respect it because our sport is not our job anymore. Of course, you're not going to be spending the amount of time and hours moving your body. It's a little bit more sedentary now, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just learning to adapt to this next season. So if you hear anything, I just want you to hear this. You're not broken. You're just adjusting to this season of life that your body's entering into. Before we move forward, I really just want to take a moment to help you understand what's actually happening on the inside of our body in this season. It's not just this external look and pressure, but what's going on within. So one thing is we experience some muscle loss. All right. When you're not training to the level and capacity that we were, your body's naturally going to lose some muscle. Is that okay? Sure, it's okay. Now, if we went to the extreme other end of it, I think there could be some concerns, but that subtle muscle loss, like I mentioned earlier, is actually lowering our resting metabolic rate. And naturally with that, it's going to be harder to lose weight. It's going to be harder to look the same that you did. It's going to be harder in general to just attain that version of yourself. The next thing is less training means there's more time sitting, and what that impacts is our digestion. It impacts our joints, and I know that for me, I've had to pay attention to my digestion and the way that I'm feeling. I know that even the other day, I had a workout. It was really hard. I was actually feeling some pain in my knees, and I was supposed to work out the next morning, and I canceled the class because I knew my body needed to recover. I was respecting it and giving it grace instead of old version would have been like, tough it out, Sierra, like go work out. It's not a big deal. No, I had to give my body room to recover as it did impact my joints in a different way. And even back to the digestion thing, I have just had to pay attention to what I am putting in my body, understanding that it may not be processing and breaking down food the same way because I am a bit more stationary and that metabolic rate is a little slower. So again, all of these things are normal, but we have to understand that it's not just external. There's actually internal factors that are happening too. And number 3, the stress of this transition season in our life is actually affecting our eating habits, our sleeping habits, and our recovery. I know that in this season of transition, I really wrestled with sleep. I was having a hard time going to sleep. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was almost in boycott mode of, man, I don't have to be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. And so I'd stay up like a kid on summer break, but my sleeping patterns were off. And then that impacted the way that I recovered. And it also impacted the way that I ate. It's all tied together, but I just want you to know that these are internal things that are going on, which are actually impacting us externally too, but we can't just see it from that lens. So that's why I wanted to bring you into the internal side of things. All right, so my favorite part of every episode is when we talk practically. Okay, Sierra, this is great information. What the heck can I do about it? So the first thing is we have to shift our mindset. Okay, it has to go from this performance to being present and at peace with this season of life. And I know that I was very performance driven, and that is where I gained my identity from. So learning how to just be present in the present moment and being at peace with this season of my life actually has made a dramatic shift, and I've noticed it impacting my body in a healthy way. Next, we have to focus on building new routines. Sure, you may be trained and ate and slept one way for so long, but in this new season, we have to learn, what does my body need right now? How can I actually care for it in a better way? Maybe it's more gentle strength training. Maybe it's more joyful movements. Maybe it's going on walks with friends and just getting your steps in. I know that I actually considered that to be weak when I first got out of my sport, and now I love it. Going on long walks or slow runs or Pilates and Legree and whatever that is, I'm just learning to respect what my body needs in this season. And that's a part of that mindset shift and moving forward with grace. And third, we can focus on stabilizing our blood sugar. Again, I know that this goes for both men and women, but this act of stabilizing our blood sugar also stabilizes our hormones. And so when we eat less processed sugar and more protein and fiber, it can actually help our body in this season. It can help us lean into a healthier version of ourselves externally and internally. So again, those are just a couple practicals that we can lean into in this season, but I really do wish that somebody would have just taken the time to tell me that you're not going to look and feel the same when your sport comes to an end, but it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It's just this new version of yourself. And so for me, I've had to learn to love this version of my body and respect it. I'm not letting myself go, but I'm just finding out what are the needs for right now, because there is a real impact when you leave that season and your body's trying to figure out, well, what's going on? What are we doing here now? And just remember that you're in a process of healing your relationship with your body after your sport. And that's just as important as healing from the sport being gone itself. And so I just want to remind you that you're more than your muscles, you're more than your mile time, you're more than your PRs, whatever it is. You're more than that. It was really funny because the other day I was running with a group of friends in the morning, and we all played different sports in college, but I was feeling a little lightheaded. It was really hot. It was mid-90s, and I felt like I needed to just walk for a moment before we finished our 3 miles. And my friend looked at me and she was like, you can walk. Like, there's nothing wrong with this. There's no pressure for you to finish. There's no time that you're trying to achieve here. Do what your body needs. And it was really cool to hear her say that and to just know, like, hey, I get it. I'm trying to push myself right now too, but we're also in a different season. It doesn't matter anymore. And at least we're still taking care of our body. And so I think even just subtle moments like that and having the right people in your circle to just call you out in a moment of, hey dude, like, you can chill out, like, do what you need for your body in this season. And there's absolutely no shame around it. So I just want to encourage you, be gentle with yourself. If you can do anything this week as your first step, just be gentle with yourself. And I invite you to share this episode with a friend or a teammate or just somebody you know in your world that may benefit from this. Make sure you like and subscribe. It helps this content get pushed out to more and more people like you and me who need to hear this. They don't need to be dealing with this alone. So make sure you help out and do your part with that. But if you have a moment and you're in a space to be able to say this out loud, it could feel a little awkward, but give yourself grace. And I want you to just say this: my worth is not measured by my body, and I honor the season that I'm in. I give my body grace to adapt. remember that not only are you adapting externally, but your body is adapting internally. And so we need to give it grace and permission to do that. So thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Now What Podcast.